Okay, so let's look at the story of creation from the Hindu sources. Previously, we've read from the Muslim/Egyptian sources, and we've said that God, the hidden sun, created an egg, and out of this egg emerged the earth and the 7 planets. And the egg itself is in fact the earth. Okay, the egg itself, we've said, is the earth. The eternal first cause, this is from the Hindu sources, formed the cosmic egg. The eternal first cause formed the cosmic egg, the egg often equated with the cosmic intelligence or soul, and in later myth with Brahma. Brahma, the hidden sun, as I've told you guys. The egg then divided itself into 2 parts, the 2 shells forming the heavens and the earth, and the 21 regions of the cosmos. The golden top half of the shell became the heavens, the lower half formed the earth, the outer membrane became the mountains, the inner the clouds and mists, the veins became the rivers, and the fluid the oceans. The egg of Brahma comprised the whole cosmos and contained the 21 zones called loka, locality, arranged in 3 principal strata known as triloka, 3 worlds consisting of paradise, high above the earth, Tala, the subterranean regions, and hell, far below the earth. Every division of the triloka traditionally has 7 further subdivisions. It's the same story of creation, the egg, and out of the egg came the whole cosmos, the planets and the stars, and the egg itself became the earth. Okay? In the first triloka, we've read about the triloka of hell. When we were reading about the purgatories, I've read to you about one of the triloka. There's 3 triloka. I read about one, which is hell, and it's made of 7 parts. Those are the 7 planets, of course. So we're going to read about another triloka. This is paradise, and then we're going to read about the earth. The earth is divided into 7 regions, just like the Muslims and the Zoroastrians. I've shown you guys how the Muslims and Zoroastrians divide the earth into 7 regions. But let's go ahead and read about paradise, one of the 3 triloka. The first of the triloka, it contains the paradises of the gods. Its 7 subdivisions are Brahmaloka, the abode of Brahma, Tapoloka, the abode of Viraj, Janarloka, the abode of certain of Brahma's sons, Maharloka, the abode of certain Prajapatis, Svarloka, extending from the sun to the pole star, is the paradise of certain deities like Vishnu, Siya, India, and Krishna. Bhuvarloka, the atmospheric sphere extending from the earth to the sun, is the abode of the Pitris. It includes the regions of the sun and moon. And finally, Burloka, though traditionally included in the lokas, is always considered in a class by itself. In the center of the whole cosmographical scheme stands Mount Meru, dominating the region of Ilavrita, wherein are situated all the paradises of the gods. Beneath the celestial regions, the rest of the world arranged in 7 concentric rings of Dvipa or island continents. Directly below Ilavrita lies the earth called Jambu Dvipa. The innermost of the island continents, it is flat and circular like a dish. A 1-footed goat holds apart the earth and sky. The earth rests on the head of Sisha, the cosmic Naga, serpent, dragon, just like the Mandaeans. Remember when we were reading about the Mandaeans and we said that the earth rests on a dragon? There's a dragon below the earth. We're going to see this with the Greeks, and we're going to see it with the Zoroastrians, and we're going to see it with the Egyptians. The Naga, who himself rests on a turquoise, and the turquoise the turquoise whose 4 feet are supported by elephants standing on the shell of the turquoise in the abyss of abysses. Okay, so this is the mountain. Now I have to point out a few things. First of all, this mountain is in the region of paradise. The very top of the mountain appears to be in paradise. Okay? So they tell us that the very top of the mountain seems to be in the region of paradise because it's so tall. This is such a ginormous mountain. This mountain is the one that we saw with the Zoroastrians. This is the mountain that keeps the earth in place, because I've told you guys that the mountains that surround the earth are connected to the mountains on earth and they hold it in place. But I'm going to be proving this to you guys when we start reading from the Zoroastrian sources. You're going to see this mountain holds the earth in place, and it had another function. From the Zoroastrian sources, you're going to see that this was used to describe, or was used to explain, the phenomenon of day and night at the same time in different locations on earth. But we're going to read that from the Zoroastrian sources. Okay. So the 7 concentric rings, let's go ahead and read about this. There's 7 rings. So imagine, if you guys will, if you're looking at this image, black and white, to our right, and if you see the 7 rings, the mountain is in the middle, there's 7 rings. We're going to start reading about those rings. Around Jambo is the 2nd ring-shaped continent called Plaksha, itself encircled by a sea of sugar cane. The 3rd island continent ring around Plaksha is called Salmala, girded by a sea of wine. The 4th ring is called Kusa, encircled by a sea of clarified butter. The 5th continent is called Kroncha, surrounded by a sea of curds. Sveta Dvipa is the 6th ring continent surrounded by a sea of milk. The 7th is Pushkara, encompassed by a sea of fresh water. Bordering this final sea is the fabulous land of Loka Loka, which separates the visible world from the region of darkness. It consists of a range of mountains. The range of mountains that surround the earth, okay? The final region is made up of a mountain range that encircles the earth and keeps the waters in place, okay? So there's 7 islands, and it seems that we're living in the center island, the island that is the very center. Let's continue reading. So, Shiva Lingam, this is very important. Shiva Lingam is a semi-precious gemstone. It was named after the Lord Shiva in Hinduism, the moon god, a deity said to have danced the universe into existence. How old is the Shivalinga stone? Very old. Devotees have worshipped this crystal for many centuries. Speaking of why the egg shape, it represents the Brahmanda, the cosmic egg, smooth, phallic, and slender form, signifies the divine male and female powers of nature. See that? So just like I told you guys, the black stone that the Muslims consider to be divine, let's just say, it's part of the cosmic egg. It's part of the original cosmic egg before it was shaped into the earth that we have today. Okay, now the Hindus tell us that the moon god Shiva danced the earth into existence. So the god Shiva played a role along with the hidden sun in creating the earth as we know it. Let's go ahead and see what happened exactly. The great Hindu god Shiva has many guises and many representations in art, but perhaps the most familiar is as a dancing figure within a circle of fire. That is as Shiva Nataraja, Lord of Dance. In this remarkably standardized form, the god is shown dancing within a flaming halo, which represents time and which is shown as a circle to symbolize the Hindu belief that is both cyclical and without end. The dance the smiling Shiva is performing is the Tandava, the cosmic dance which both creates and destroys the universe. The energy and wildness of the dance is shown in his bent knees and extravagant spreading of the god's hair. Shiva's locks contain a skull, a datura blossom. Remember that there's a datura blossom on the god Shiva because I'm going to talk about this later. And he has a crescent moon which represents the idea that Shiva is ever present even if sometimes he's not always visible. Even more prominent is the figure of the Ganga, the personification of the river Ganges, who, according to Hindu mythology, was brought gently from heavens down to earth in the god's hair. Sometimes the god's hair is topped with a fan of konai leaves. The Ganga River, remember what we've said, you guys, the Ganges River is related to Venus or the moon. Venus is an avatar of the moon. Okay, Venus and the moon both form a crescent shape. Venus during certain times of the year forms a crescent. That's why it's connected with the moon. Okay, it's seen as an avatar of the moon. And sometimes the father god is going to be the hidden sun. The father god is always the hidden sun. Almost always the hidden sun is the father deity. The mother is either Venus or the moon. Right? So the mother is either Venus or the moon, because like I've said to you, the avatar of the moon is Venus. I have a whole chapter on this. But from the Mandaean sources, if you guys remember, we've read from the Mandaean sources that Venus and the hidden sun, so Venus being Sim'at Hay, and then you have the hidden sun being the hidden mana, the great mana. They together formed an egg, and out of this egg emerged the hidden sun in the world of existence, the great life. Right? So, and then later there was another story about Ruha being Venus, and Ur. Ur is also an avatar of the sun. So, Ruha, Venus, and Ur, the sun, copulated together, and they produced the 7 planets and the 12 constellations. The father is the hidden sun and the mother is Venus, or the father is the hidden sun and the mother is the moon. Okay, so Brahma, the hidden sun, and Shiva, the moon, produced the world. And as you can see, if you look at this image, Shiva is at the very center dancing, and around Shiva is this ring of fire, this halo of fire. That is the cosmic egg. Okay, that is the cosmic egg which Brahma, along with Shiva, produced together. Okay, and out of this egg, the whole world as we know it came to be. So let's just continue reading. And the Ganga comes from the god Shiva. Okay, the Ganga, even more prominent, is the Ganga, the personification of the Ganges, who, according to Hindu mythology, was brought gently from the heavens down to earth in the god's hair. The moon god brings the waters to the earth. Okay? It's either Venus, that's connected with the heavenly river, or the moon, that's connected with the heavenly river. Okay, let's just continue reading. Sometimes the god's hair is topped with a fan of konai leaves. In Shiva's upper left hand, he holds Agni. Agni is the divine fire, which will destroy the universe. Shiva's right foot is shown stamping on the dwarf figure Apasmara Purusha. I am beyond sorry if I'm making any mistakes in terms of pronunciation. Please do forgive me. Which holds a cobra, right? And who represents illusion and ignorance, leading humanity away from truth. The cobra motif is repeated and hangs slain from Shiva's right arm. Shiva is holding a cobra in his right arm. But if you read it from the very beginning, Shiva's right foot is shown stamping on the dwarf figure, Apasmara Purusha, who holds a cobra and who represents illusion and ignorance, leading humanity away from truth. The cobra motif is repeated and hangs slain from Shiva's right arm. So the cobra, the serpent, is at the very bottom. He's underworld, right? He's below the egg, or he's at the, he's below the egg, basically. The serpent is below the egg. Meaning that the serpent is in the underworld. Just like Ur from the Mandaean sources. The Surya Siddhanta treats the Earth as a globe fixed in place, and it describes the 7 traditional planets as moving in orbits around the Earth. See that? This is the Sabians. Back then the Sabians in all of their denominations, whether they were the Greeks, the Zoroastrians, that's the Persians, the Iranians, the Hindus, the Mandaeans, the Muslims, as we're later going to see, all of the Sabians believed that the planets revolved around the Earth. Okay? All of the Sabians believed that the planets revolved around the Earth. From the Greek sources, actually, the Greeks' story of creation is quite similar to that of the Hindus, as you're going to see. First creation narrative: in the beginning, Urinum, the goddess of all things, rose naked from chaos, but found nothing substantial for her feet to rest upon, and therefore divided the sea from the sky. Dancing lonely upon its waves, she danced towards the south, and the wind set in motion behind her seemed something new and apart with which to begin a work of creation. I just want to mention, I've highlighted in pink, divided the sea from the sky. This is something that you're going to see in all of the Sabaic religions. The earth being divided from the sky is something that you're going to see in all of the Sabaic religions. Previously, when we were reading from the Muslim sources, we've said, do the disbelievers not realize that the heavens and earth were once one mass and we split them apart? And we created from water every living thing, though will they not believe. And you read the explanation of this from Ibn Kathir. In the beginning they were all one piece, attached to one another and piled up on top of one another. Then he separated them from one another and made the 7 heavens and 7 earths, placing the air between the earth and the lowest heaven. The Sabians back then believed that the earth and sky were one piece, were attached to one another, and they were separated. This is a very interesting myth that the Sabians have, which we will be discussing. You're going to see this repeating over and over again with the Sabians. But basically we're going to discuss this later on. I just wanted to have you guys notice this because we're going to be looking into it further. So Urinum, the goddess of all things, wheeling about, she caught hold of this north wind, rubbed it between her hands, and behold, the great serpent Ophion. Urinum danced to warm herself, wildly, until Ophion, grown lustful, coiled about those divine limbs, and was moved to couple with her. Now the north wind, who is also called Boreas, fertilizes, which is why mares often turn their hindquarters to the wind, and bread falls without aid of a stallion. So Urinum was likewise got with a child. So this woman, apparently the earth, the sky fertilizes Urinum. Okay? Urinum is fertilized by the sky. This is very important. This is very, very important. I want you guys to remember this. I'm going to give you a basic understanding of why this is important. The sky was described as an avatar of the sun, and the earth was described as an avatar of the moon or Venus. Right? So the sky is an avatar of the sun, and the earth is an avatar of Venus or the moon. And the sky and the earth copulated together, and they produced the 7 planets, the sky and the earth copulated together, and they produced the cosmic egg from which, the 7 planets and the constellations emerged and everything. Okay? But in this story of creation, Urinum was likewise got with a child. The sky copulated with Urinum, and she begot a child. But we're going to discuss this further. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to memorize this because we're going to discuss this later. I just wanted you to know that the Sabians represent the sky as, associate the sky with the sun, and they associate the earth with Venus. So Uranum was likewise got with a child. Next, she assumed the form of a dove, brooding on the waves, and in due process of time laid the universal egg. At her bidding, Ophion coiled 7 times about this egg until it hatched and split in 2. Out tumbled all things that exist, her children, the sun, moon, planets, stars, and the earth, with its mountains and rivers and its trees. Next, the goddess created the 7 planetary powers, setting a Titaness and a Titan over each. Thea and Hyperion for the sun, Phoebe and Atlas for the moon, Dionc and Cnus for the planet Mars, Metis and Coeus for the planet Mercury, etc. So this is similar to the Egyptian sources. The earth and the sky and the egg copulated and produced the 7 planets. They worshipped not the planets, but the spirits of the planets. The Greeks did not worship the planets. They worshipped the spirits of the planets. And these are androgynous, as you've seen. There's a Titaness and a Titan over each. So the god that resides over each planet is androgynous. He's both male and female. Okay? This is one creation narrative. They have a second creation narrative. The black-winged night, a goddess of whom even Zeus stands in awe, was courted by the wind and laid a silver egg in the womb of darkness, and that Eros, whom some call Phanes, was hatched from this egg and set the universe in motion. The writer's footnote, he tells us the night's silver egg means the moon, silver being the lunar metal. See that? So the black-winged night, right, a goddess of whom even Zeus stands in awe, was courted by the wind and laid a silver egg. The wind, or the sky, as I've told you guys, is the hidden sun, is the sun. It's associated with the sun. It mingled with the moon, right? Because the egg that was produced is silver in color. It's the color of the night, as they tell us, the night silver egg. So the goddess, right, the black-winged night, this goddess is the moon, and the moon cohabited with the sun, and they produced the egg, and this egg, everything emerged from this egg, as I've told you. Like I said, we're going to discuss this further. I'm going to explain it. You don't have to worry about it now. I want you to, pay attention to these things because we're going to be discussing them in the future. Third creation narrative. Others say that the God of all things, whoever he may have been, it's obviously the hidden sun, appearing suddenly in chaos, separated earth from the heavens, the water from the earth, and the upper air from the lower, having unraveled the elements. He set them in due order, as they are now found. He divided the earth into zones, some very hot, some very cold, others temperate, molded it into plains and mountains, and clothed it with grass and trees. Above it he set the rolling firmament, spangling it with stars. Now, here's one thing that's quite important I want to talk about. Beit Talis. In Greek religion, a sacred stone or pillar. Numerous holy stones existed in antiquity, generally attached to the cult of some particular god, and looked upon as his abiding place. Professor George F. Moore devoted an article to the Beit Talis. In the American Journal of Archaeology, according to him, the earliest mention of Beit Talis is in Philobiblius, who called them stones endowed with the power of self-motion. After a fairly exhaustive study of the occurrences in Philo, Damascus, the Etymologicum Magnum, and other sources, he concluded the name was appropriated to certain small stones of peculiar character to which various magical properties were ascribed. They moved about, talked, and otherwise answered questions, and afforded a powerful protection to their possessor. This is my note, this article discusses the possibility that the word Beitalis is originally Semitic, Beth El, meaning the house of God. So Beitalis is two words, Beth El, meaning the house of God. And this is the egg, this house of God, this small stone that was called the house of God, was part of the original egg from which the sun god Ra and all of the other deities, planets, and constellations emerged. Okay, that's why it was called the house of God. A peculiar feature of Anaximander's Greek philosophy, this is a Greek philosopher, Anaximander's astronomy is that the celestial bodies are said to be like chariot wheels. See this image? We're going to be talking about this image that you see on your right. This is the Earth. The Earth is at the very center. And the stars and the moon and the sun, all of them are circumambulating the Earth. And this is what all of the Sabians believed. All of the Sabians believed that the planets circled around the Earth. Celestial bodies are said to be like chariot wheels. The Greek word celestial bodies are the planets. The celestial bodies are the planets are said to be like chariot wheels. The rims of these wheels are of opaque vapor. They are hollow. And filled with fire. This fire shines through at openings in the wheels, and this is what we see as the sun, the moon, or the stars. Sometimes the openings of the sun wheel closes. Then we observe an eclipse. The opening of the moon wheel regularly closes and opens again, which accounts for the phases of the moon. Anaximander is said to have made the first map of the world. Although this map has been lost, we can imagine what it must have looked like, because Herodotus, who has seen such a map, describes them. Anaximander's map must have been circular, like the top of his drum-shaped earth. The river ocean surrounded it. The Mediterranean Sea was in the middle of the map, which was divided into two halves by a line that ran through Delphi, the world's navel. The northern half was called Europe and the southern half Asia. So it's a flat circle, basically. What the writer is telling us, that Anaximander's map must have been a flat earth with the world, the habitable earth, that is at the very center, surrounded by a river. But I want to read to you guys, I want to show you guys that the Greeks also believed that the earth was surrounded by a mountain range. The circumferential mountain range we spoke of, the Greeks also believed in that. From the history of Alexander the Great, and Alexander and his troops went up between the Photic Sea and the Bright Sea, to the place where the sun enters the window of heaven. For the sun is the servant of the Lord, and neither by night nor by day does he cease from his traveling. The place of his rising is over the sea, and the people who dwell there, when he is about to rise, flee away and hide themselves in the sea, that they be not burnt by his rays. And he passes through the midst of the heavens to the place where he enters the window of heaven. And wherever he passes, there are terrible mountains, and those who dwell there have caves hollowed out in the rocks, and as soon as they see the sun passing over them, men and birds flee away from him, and hide in the caves, for rocks are rent by his blazing heat, and fall down. And whether they be men or beasts, as soon as the stones touch them, they are consumed. And when the sun enters the window of heaven, he straightway bows down and makes obeisance before God his Creator. And he travels and descends the whole night through the heavens until at length he finds himself where he rises. Okay, so he passes between the Foetid Sea and the Bright Sea. What does this mean? This is the sea that's outside of the earth, that's beyond the mountains. Okay, let's go over to the there it is. See this? This is the windows, right? We've read from the window. He goes through the window of heaven. The window is the mountain. The valley between the mountains is the window. Okay, so when we read from the Greek sources and it tells us the sun goes in through the window of heaven, it's coming in between the mountains. Okay, and the Greek sources, the Greeks apparently used to believe that there were people living in these valleys. There were people living in these valleys, and once the sun came to rise, they jumped into the waters because they were afraid of being burnt alive by the sun's rays. Right? And, there's the river that surrounds the earth, and then past these mountains, you have the celestial realms, you have the celestial waters. Okay, the waters of the gods are different than our waters. Okay? So the Greeks also believed that there was a mountain range that surrounded the earth. Okay? All of the Sabians used to believe this in general. I think it's safe to say that all of the Sabians used to believe in this. The Prophet asked me at sunset. This is from the Muslim sources. I want to show you guys that the Muslims also believe the earth is at the very center and the planets circle the earth. So let's read from the Muslim sources. The Prophet asked me at sunset, "Do you know where the sun goes at the time of sunset?" I replied, "Allah and His Apostle know better." He said, "It travels till it prostrates itself underneath the throne and takes the permission to rise again, and it is permitted, and then a time will come when it will be about to prostrate itself, but its prostration will not be accepted, and it will ask permission to go into its course, but it will not be permitted, but it will be ordered to return, whence it has come, and so it will rise in the west." And that is the interpretation of the statement of Allah. And the sun runs its fixed course for a term decreed. That is the decree of Allah, the Exalted in Might, the All-Knowing. Until when He... this is a Quranic verse highlighted in yellow. Until when he reached the setting of the sun, he found it setting in a body of dark water. Actually, believe it or not, this verse, which I'm going to talk about later, the original source of this verse is the history of Alexander the Great, being the Syriac version of Pseudo-Callisthenes. So I'm going to talk about this, but this Quranic verse that you see down here actually comes from the Greek mythology. Directly from this book. It comes directly from this book. I'm going to talk about this later, so stay tuned if you want me to explain this to you. But the Muslims also believe that the sun revolves around the earth. Okay? But there's one more thing that I find to be very interesting. There's another thing here that's very interesting. I asked the Prophet, "Where does the sun go?" "Allah and His Apostle know better," he said. It travels till it prostrates itself underneath the throne and takes permission to rise again. And it is permitted, and then a time will come when it will be about to prostrate itself, but its prostration will not be accepted, and it will ask permission to go on its course, but it will not be permitted. It goes to the underworld. Okay, the sun goes to the underworld, and it prostrates itself underneath the throne. So the throne of God must be in the underworld. Based on this description, right? Because Allah, He says it goes till it prostrates underneath the throne and it takes permission to rise again. So the throne is in the underworld. Now this may not make a lot of sense now, but once we get to the Egyptians, it's all going to make a lot of sense. I'm going to explain to you what this verse means. How could the throne of God be in the underworld? It doesn't make sense now. Trust me, if you just stay with me, it's going to make a lot of sense. From the Zoroastrian sources, Ahura Mazda, also called Hormuz, sprang from the purest light. Ahriman, from darkness. Right? So the counterpart, the evil counterpart of Ahura Mazda is Ahriman. And these two waged war against each other. Hormuz created the 6 beneficent divinities, Amisha Spintas. And these are the 6 planets, not including the sun. These are the spirits of the 6 planets, not the 6 planets. These are the spirits of the 6 planets, not including the sun, which is associated with Ahura Mazda himself. Ahura Mazda is the spirit of the sun. So he created 6 divinities. These are the spirits of the 6 planets, not including the sun, because Ahura Mazda is the spirit of the sun, is the spirit of the 7th planet. And then waxing 3 times as great as before, he withdrew from the sun, just as far as the sun is distant from the earth. He thereupon adorned the heaven with stars, the chief of which is Sirius. The supreme deity now created 24 other divinities. These are the 12 constellations and their counterparts, the female counterpart of each divinity. Every divinity, as we've said, is both male and female, so the 12 constellations and their female counterparts, okay? Whom he placed in an egg, okay? So the supreme God created, he first created the 6 divinities, the 6 beneficent divinities, and then he created the 24 divinities, right? And he placed all of these in an egg. He placed all of these in one egg. So he basically created the planets, the 7 planets, and the 12 constellations, and he placed them all in an egg. And remember, the planets, he created the spirits of the planets, right? So basically what this means is that the Zoroastrians do not revere the planets themselves, they revere the spirits of the planets. And pay attention to the word I'm using. I've said revere, I haven't said worship. Okay, they don't worship the planets. The Zoroastrians worship Amun-Ra, the hidden sun, and only the hidden sun. They don't worship anyone else. Okay, I don't want anyone to think that they worship the planets. The Zoroastrians worship the hidden sun, Ahura Mazda, and no one but Ahura Mazda. The planets, they believed, had spirits. They revered these spirits, but they did not pray to them. They did not worship these spirits. Okay? So he created the planets and their spirits, and he placed the planets, the constellations included, in the egg. He placed them all in an egg, in order to counterattack these. Ahrimanios, that's Ahriman, in turn created an equal number of evil beings to join his side. They pierced the egg. In this way, evil became mixed with good on the authority of Theopompus. Plutarch then adds that according to the Magian doctrine, one of the 2 gods, Hormozes, rules for 3,000 years, while the other is worsted. After that, they contend and fight together for 3,000 years and mutually destroy each other's works. Finally, the good God will vanquish the devil, the good will be triumphant, and the millennium will be ushered in the later passage. This later passage clearly alludes to the doctrine of the 12,000 years. This is similar to the Yuga cycles in Hinduism. Okay. So I want you guys to look at the bottom right of the page. This is a drawing of the egg of Zoroaster. You have the 12 constellations, right? Their male and female forms. And you have the sun at the very center. See the sun? And then you have 6 divinities. You can count them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The 12 constellations, it seems that every two constellations are controlled by one of these 6 planets, and the 6 planets are the Moon, Mars, Mercury, Saturn, Venus, Jupiter, and the Sun is the Supreme Lord. The Sun is ruler over all of them. Okay? But basically, the egg, he created an egg, he placed inside the egg the 6 planets with their spirits, and he placed in it the 12 constellations with their spirits. Okay? And I just want to say that we've read prior about the Amicius Pentas. I don't know if you guys remember, but we've read prior about the Amicius Pentas that they are androgynous. Okay? So the Amicius Pentas, the planets, the spirits of the planets, and the spirits of the constellations are androgynous. Hence, we have in Zatspram, when Ahura Mazda basically, when Ahura Mazda expounds the details of his creation. Secondly, when I established the earth in the center of the sky, so that it was on no side nearer, like the yolk of an egg, in the center of an egg. The sky, earth, waters, and whatever is within are in the form of an egg, just like the egg of birds. The sky above the earth and below the earth, like an egg, is established by the works of the creator Ahura Mazda. And the earth in the center of the sky, just like the yolk in the center of the egg. Okay, so they tell us, it seems that the yolk is being associated with the earth. The yolk is the earth, it seems. Or that they are trying to compare it to the earth. The yolk in the center is similar to the earth in the center, but basically what they're telling us is that this egg is the earth. Okay? Similar to what you're going to see in all of the other Sabaic religions. The earth as we know it came out of the egg, and the egg is the earth. Okay? A black sun and a black moon were also inserted into the horoscope of the world in order to explain the eclipses. They were another duplication of the 2 Indian false planets, and functionally corresponded to the head and the tail of the heavenly dragon. So the Zoroastrians, similar to the Mandaeans, believe that there is a dragon under this world. In the underworld there's a dragon. The earth is resting upon the back of a dragon, just like the Hindus. We've seen from the Hindus, we've seen from the Greeks. There's a dragon in the underworld. Okay? And they tell us that there's a black sun and a black moon. Let's just read this really quickly, and I'm going to explain to you what the black sun and the black moon is. And this is also the belief of the Indians. The Indians hold the same belief. Gozer, the name of the imaginary dragon spanning the sky between the 2 nodes of the moon. Of these, the ascending node, where the moon's orbit crosses the plane of the ecliptic from the south to the north, formed its head, and the descending node its tail. This dragon was first conceived by the Chaldeans as having been created before the constellations and the planets, and watching over the universe with its head towards the sunrise and its tail towards the sunset. Okay? This is what the Hindus and Zoroastrians believed in terms of eclipse. Now, we've read from the Mandaeans that Adonai is the source of the eclipse, right? Adonai moves his head in front of the sun and causes an eclipse. The Greek sources we've read they try to explain the eclipses, and they claim that there's like a shutter in the pathway of the sun. There appears a shutter, and that causes an eclipse. The Hindus and the Zoroastrians had a different way of explaining things. This is the black moon, and this is the black sun. And the black moon intersects with the... So this is a planet, okay? This is a planet. It intersects with the moon and causes an eclipse. And the black sun intersects with the sun and causes the eclipse, the solar eclipse. For anyone who doesn't know what a lunar eclipse is, when the Earth is directly in front of the sun compared to the moon is hidden by the shadow of the Earth, and so it appears as if there is a planet in front of the moon, right? The shadow of the Earth falls on the moon basically, and it appears as if there's another planet hiding the moon. So that's why they came up with the idea of the black moon, basically. The two false planets, as they call them. And the solar eclipse is when the moon is in front of the is between the sun and the earth. When the moon is between the sun and the earth, it appears as if there's a planet hiding the sun. So they thought this was a false planet, the black sun. It is revealed that the mountain Harbors is around the world, and the mountain Tirag is in the middle of the world. So this is, similar to mountain Kaf of the Muslims. We've said Muslims in the verse, I can't remember the verse, but there is a verse about mountain Kaf, and mountain Kaf surrounds the world. It's on the circumferential edge of the world. It is revealed that the mountain Harbors is around the world, and mountain Tirag is in the middle of the world. For there are 180 windows in the east and 180 windows in the west, the days of the year basically. Every day the sun comes in through one of the windows and goes out by one window. The bonds and the motion of the moon, the fixed stars and the planets are all to it. Every day it shines on 3.5 continents at one time. So, I've said prior when I was talking about the Hindus that there's another function for this mountain. This function is explaining day and night at the same time. So at the same time, for example, in different countries, I could have daytime and another country could have nighttime. This is because the Earth is a globe, the Earth is a sphere. So when the Earth is revolving around the sun, sunlight hits or reaches certain parts of the Earth, and then on the other end or on the other side of the Earth, you're not going to get any sunlight. The ancients wanted to explain this. They were being asked by their students. I was traveling from one place to another, O scholar, and I was expecting daytime, but when I arrived there, it was nighttime. At the same time that you guys had daytime, we had nighttime over there. How do you explain this? So their scholars were looking for a way to explain this phenomenon, and they explained it by mountain Tirag. This mountain at the very center of the world hides the sun. This was their way of explaining this. It doesn't make sense in any way. There's no point in trying to make sense of this. But their way of explaining how daytime and nighttime could happen at the same time in different parts of the world is that there's a mountain, a huge mountain at the center of the world, and the shadow of this mountain causes nighttime at one point on one part of the earth, while another part of the earth has daytime. Okay? So this mountain's shadow causes daytime and nighttime at the same time on earth. Right? If there's daytime and nighttime at the same time, it's because of this mountain's shadow. Do not even try to understand this. It doesn't make any sense. The bonds and motion of the moon, the fixed stars and the planets are all to it. We've read this. The two different explanations of the brightness of planets have been juxtaposed in such a way as to appear reconcilable. Their movement disturbs the divine light of the firmament, which then beneficently screens them from the vulnerable sight of men. This means that the planets reflect the light of the Most High. Another explanation, Ahura Mazda bound 7 demons to the firmament and then surrounded them with light. Okay, this is not too important. We've got more important stuff to cover. Space will not permit us to make more than mention of the wonderful world, mountain Horburs, that surrounds the whole earth and is pierced with 360 openings, and of the mundane egg, of the 2 maidens that meet the soul at death, the personifications of his good and evil deeds, and of the Shinvad bridge which unites this world with that beyond the grave and is situated at the peak of judgment, which is in the middle of the world and a part of Hurburs. Okay, so what does this mean? The Shinvad bridge is at the top of Mount Tirag. Okay, this is similar to what we've read from the Hindu sources. The Hindu sources tell us that the top of this mountain is in the heavenly realm. Okay, so when we read from the Zoroastrian sources, they tell us that the top of Mount Tirag is basically in the heavenly realm, and the bridge, Shinvad bridge that leads to heaven, is on the very top of this mountain, is on the very top of Mount Tirag. But one more point that's very interesting to us is it tells us that Mount Tirag, or that Mount Harburs, is connected to Mount Tirag, right? Which is in the middle of the world and a part of Mount Harburs. This mountain is in the middle of the world and is part of the Mount Harburs. How is it part of the Mount Harburs? Because it is connected by veins to the mountain Harburs, the mountain range that surrounds the world, basically. The same stuff as the Muslims. You know, the Muslims tell us that the mountains on earth are connected to the mountain Kaf via veins, right? It's the same exact stuff. From the Yazidis we read, they also have a special veneration of angels, amongst which they also include an evil spirit whom they call Malik Taus. Malik Taus is not an evil spirit. This is made up, this is a claim that was made up by Muslims. Malik Taus speaks of himself in Yazid's sacred writings. There is no place where I am not present. I participate in all events that people of all other religions call evil, because these events do not correspond to their wishes. The Yazidi also considers him a divinity that created the material world using the dismembered parts of the primordial cosmic egg. See that? Malik Taus is the sun god. Malik Taus is the sun god. And when the hidden sun told Malik Taus to bow down before Adam, Malik Taus refused. So the Muslims refer to him as Lucifer. Muslims refer to him as Lucifer because he refused to bow down to Adam. And in the Quran, there's the story about Lucifer refusing to bow down to Adam. So they associated Lucifer with Malik Taus because he refused to bow down to Adam. But this is not true. The Yazidis do not consider him evil. They don't consider him Lucifer. Okay, he is the sun god to the Yazidis. At the beginning of time, this is still from the Yazidi sources, the universal spirit created the cosmic egg out of its most precious essence, then created a bird and placed the pearl on its back and dwelled there for 40,000 years. On the first day of creation, the spirit created Malik Taus, the sun god, the peacock angel, and on the following days it created 6 other angels, the 6 other planets, the 6 other spirits that reside over the 6 other planets. Okay? So he created Malik Taus on the first day, then he created the 6 other divinities, and those are the spirits that reside over the planets. Malik Taus resides over the sun. It is the peacock angel. Malik Taus is the peacock angel. Taus means peacock in Arabic. It is the peacock angel who created the material world using the dismembered pieces of the original egg in which the universal spirit once dwelt. This spirit played no part in the act of creation. Lucifer, Malik Taus basically, has authority and power over worldly affairs and is in charge of all the world's creatures and is counselor and friend to the Yazidis. Okay, so the universal spirit used to reside in the egg. The universal spirit, the hidden sun, used to reside in the egg. So this is the story of creation according to the Sabians. The world came out of an egg. Next up, we're going to talk about the Egyptians, and we're going to talk about, because we haven't spoken about the purgatories according to the Egyptians. I've shown you guys the purgatories according to the Mandaeans, the Muslims, the Hindus, the Greeks, the Manichaeans, but not according to the Egyptians. And this is something that Egyptologists are not aware of. Egyptologists do not know what the planets mean for the ancient Egyptians. So we're going to be explaining this. I'm going to be showing you guys what exactly the ancient Egyptians believed in regards to the planets. They believed, just like all of the other Sabians, that the planets were purgatories and that the people used to go to the firmaments of these planets to suffer and be released from their sins. So a lot more detail to follow. Thank you guys for watching. Come back for some more information. Till next time. Take care. Bye bye.